I think we're set. Thank you, Amy, for electronic logistics and all of that. And thank you, Lufana. Great to be with you again. I think I still have residual effects of altitude from a couple weeks ago in Tibet and Everest Base Camp, but it's okay. You know, we'll get through. So I'm going to be talking in the workshop about spiritual and cognitive behavioral approaches, new directions in mental health that build on what is known as third wave cognitive approaches that you may be familiar with, or some of you less so. And then that's me. And if you want to be in touch with me, feel free to email my last name, Bingaman, at fordham.edu. And I'm professor of mental health counseling and spiritual integration. It's, I think, a great MA program that focuses on mental health licensure, integrating spirituality into the curriculum. At Fordham University, the Jesuit University of New York, we like to say. And I'm also editor-in-chief of the journal, Pastoral Psychology. And some of you have published, Lufana, I know you've published in Pastoral Psychology, which relates psychological and behavioral science research with the work of pastoral ministry specifically and very broadly defined. Spiritual care, chaplaincy, that sort of thing, and examines the practice of pastoral spiritual care and counseling through diverse religious and psychological perspectives. So if you're looking for a place to publish an article, come talk to me. And I'm also open to ideas for special issues. Could be around topics that we've discussed this week or other topics. All right? Okay, and just to go back, so that what I'm talking about today builds on the research I've done, and if you want to know more, you can take a look at my book, The Power of Neuroplasticity for Pastoral and Spiritual Care, the Lexington books. All right, and we'll be talking about that today. The third wave, cognitive approaches that incorporate contemplative neuroscience research. All right. So this is probably a quote that you're all familiar with from the Sermon on the Mount. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Today has enough to deal with. Isn't that the truth? Today has enough for you and me. One day at a time, as they like to say in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Just today. Do not be anxious. So really, does Jesus really mean that? I think so. I think he means it. But with the state of the world at the moment, global volatility, and whatever else is going on in your life and my life at any given moment, right? Do not be anxious. So in recent years, I've done high altitude trekking in the Himalayas. Something draws me to the Himalayas. These are mountains, right? The U.S. has mountains, but not like these. These are truly mountains. So just a few weeks ago, I was at Everest Base Camp on the Tibet side, Mount Kailash, Buddhist monasteries. In 2022, I was on the Nepal side. Everest high passes trek for about 3 weeks. Sherpa villages, Sagarmatha National Park, great experiences. But anyway, so 2022, flying from Kathmandu to Lukla, the gateway to the Everest region, and what many consider world's most dangerous airport. It's a tiny strip, and only a few pilots can land propeller planes at that altitude. But anyway, we're on this flight, about a 25-minute flight from Kathmandu to Lukla, and my guide, my Sherpa, he's looking at the airline magazine. Yeti Air had an airline magazine. And then there was an article that he was reading on visit the birthplace of the Buddha in Lumbini. And he's saying, I'm Nepali, but I've never been there. I need to go sometime. And then Subhas, he passes the article to me. He hands me the article. He doesn't say anything. He's just looking at me and points to the top of the article where there's a quote attributed to the Buddha. Control the mind, or it will control you. And he's not saying anything. He's just looking at me, pointing at this quote as if he's picking up on my anxiety. Right? We are about to go off the grid for 3 weeks doing high passes trek. And he's just nodding his head, you know, like control the mind, or it will control you. And that's Everest, by the way. First light of day on the Nepal side. Nuptse, about 26,000. It actually looks taller, but it's that's Everest. All right, so do not be anxious about tomorrow, says Jesus. Learn to control the mind, or it will control you. But even with all the wonderful teaching from different spiritual traditions, we still get anxious, don't we? Perhaps to state the obvious, if we're really being honest. So when I work with university students, counseling clients, I encourage them to always bring the totality of themselves into the work. Bring all of you, all parts. This is IFS, another third wave cognitive internal family systems that focuses on the regulation of all our parts. Because we might think we have a central core identity, but we're really a multiplicity of different parts. But all parts are welcome in the counseling work, in IFS framework, including the parts we like about ourselves and the parts we struggle with. Don't leave any part outside the door. Bring all of you into the counseling work. Even that anxious part. Don't leave her outside the door because you don't like her, you're ashamed of her, or you think she's a reflection of your lack of faith. Not so. We're human, right? We're human, which sometimes means we feel anxious. I realize that anxiety can sometimes get the better of us. This happens sometimes, which I have to address in my counseling practice, sometimes with clients, the different levels of anxiety. But initially, I'll normalize it as something basic, something inherent in the makeup of the human brain, the nervous system, an evolutionary predisposition. So the human brain, yours, mine, comes with an anxious predisposition. The accumulation of thousands and thousands of years of human history and even human prehistory, sometimes having lived through very dire circumstances. To put it simply, the brain comes with a built-in negativity bias. the normal baseline, even for the brain when it's at rest. Always vigilant, always on guard. As the neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga has said, there are things that absolutely do affect us in a positive manner. But, he says, there's no equivalent to the emergency status the brain gives to negative stimuli. Our nervous system is triggered even before we realize that we're triggered. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us, right? Or we're lacking in faith. It's simply a reflection of an earlier brain, and with it, those primal responses that we all come coded with, right? You know them. Well, the primal responses are fight, flight, freeze. The vestiges of the Ice Age brain, according to Martin Seligman. Vestiges of the Ice Age brain, from which come the naggings of pessimism and negativity, he says. We do well, argues Seligman, to recognize the insistent voice of pessimism for the vestige that it is, right? Just being mindful of that triggering. Nothing wrong with us. We don't have to get into theological evaluation, you know, I'm lacking. But just a mindfulness of that going off in us and what we do with that trigger, how to regulate it. Not a problem, except for when our anxious awareness gets the better of us, when it's excessive and disproportionate for life in today's world. Right, at work, the boss frowns at me. Oh no, I'm going to get fired, right? Or a loved one is being irritable with me in recent days. Maybe they don't love me anymore. A drop in the financial markets. Oh my goodness, I'll never be able to retire. You know, catastrophizing, if we put it in CBT terms. The amygdala, it sounds the alarm, the warning center. So it's led some researchers to put forward a 3-to-1 positivity to negativity ratio. That for every critical, judgmental thought I have, every anxious feeling, painful memory, I need 3 or more positive emotions to keep myself psychologically in balance. At least thoughts of compassion, loving kindness, gratitude. Right, if you go to an AA meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous, have you done your 10 gratitudes today? There's a reason for that. There's a neuroscience that goes with that. And when it comes to intimate relationships, anyone has seen John Gottman's work in the US, 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, focuses on marriage, intimate relationships, parent-child, spouses, friends, 5-to-1. Interpersonally, for every 1 negative interaction, 5 positive, at least, to keep the relationship in balance. All right, so the good news is, and you know, Richard Davidson, who at the University of Wisconsin has done the emotional life of your brain, a lot of research on contemplative neuroscience. The brain is built to change in response to experience. That's the good news. We come with a negativity bias, but the brain is built to change across the lifespan. And studies that indicate even the aging brain, that there can be change. There's this old adage, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. But maybe you can. Maybe there's still the capacity for learning across the entire lifespan. I've heard some neuroscientists put it like this in ways we can all understand. So the brain is like Velcro for negativity. You know, Velcro sticks. And like Teflon for positivity. Not that positivity is unimportant. We just need more positivity to balance the negative. The brain remembers a negative or painful or traumatic experience more powerfully than a positive one. It's just trying to keep us safe, keep us from getting hurt, sometimes, though, to a fault. So, at the risk of oversimplification today, I'm aware that neurobiology is quite complex and complicated. But, you know, for our purposes today, if you take away the amygdala, fine. The warning center down toward the brain stem, right? Sounds the alarm. And it's looking for real problems and potential problems, right? Don't be vigilant about real problems, but be on guard for things that might happen. The amygdala. So on the one hand, Jesus is teaching, don't be anxious about tomorrow. Let tomorrow worry about itself. The Buddha tells us to control the mind or it will control you, while our amygdala is saying the opposite. No, be worried about tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. So the spiritual teaching really goes against the grain of neurobiology. It's quite revolutionary, right? 2,000 years ago, Sermon on the Mount, that's quite revolutionary. Joseph Ledoux, the neuroscientist at NYU, New York University, has said that in moments of stress and crisis, the amygdala, that down here near the brainstem, orders what he calls a hostile takeover of higher order functioning up in the cortical region, particularly the prefrontal cortex, seat of higher order executive functioning. So if we can just be mindful about that in those moments where the amygdala is taking over our executive functioning. But the question becomes how, right? Growing up, I heard a lot of sermons. I heard this sermon all the time, Sermon on the Mount. Do not be anxious. And then I would leave the service saying to myself, I'm not going to be anxious. Well, and that lasted a couple minutes, right? Because I didn't know how. No one explained how. How are we to put this teaching into practice? Willpower, I'm not gonna be anxious. Willpower is no match for biology, right? As anyone in substance abuse recovery can tell you, willpower is no match for biology. So after taking a deep dive into the brain science in recent years, particularly contemplative neuroscience, I've come to see that there is a way, that there is a way for us to regulate our anxiety and have some measure of control over the anxious mind. It is remarkable that the research on meditation and contemplative prayer, what that does to the brain over time, right? It's nice to do a weekend retreat, but this is more over time. And so Tyler, the other day, he noted that Andrew Newberg was one of his mentors at University of Pennsylvania. Newberg did a landmark study focusing on Franciscan nuns practicing the Christian centering prayer. while at the same time he was doing neuroimaging of Buddhist monks doing mindfulness meditation. If you want to know more about it, his book, How God Changes Your Brain. But yeah, he's doing all these and imaging of the nuns, of the monks, over months, over a few years. And what the conclusion is that meditational practice is related to improved mood over time, emotional regulation, and the handling of stress even when we're not meditating. Right, that's really key. It changes the brain for the better so that the brain of a meditator over time will differ from the brain of a non-meditator, building up a greater window of tolerance in the face of stressors. All right, so some of you may already be doing this. I suspect so, right? Doing contemplative prayer, a meditational practice, and if so, way to go. Keep it up. Maybe you're thinking about it, or maybe you're just learning about mindfulness approaches. Fine, no problem. Personally, I've been doing contemplative prayer, mindfulness meditation for about 15 years. I wish I'd been introduced to it at a younger age, in my formative years, but it is what it is. So I've been doing it for 15 years, and I think it really has been transformative. A completely different way of knowing and being, very different epistemological foundation. I do worry less about tomorrow. Not entirely, right? To be completely honest, right? My nervous system still has those primal responses: fight, flight, freeze. But at the same time, through years of contemplative practice, I'm able to downshift much sooner than before. What some call recovery time. The recovery time is less and less. Right, from the initial trigger going off in my brain, my nervous system, with the anxious thought or feeling, the less time it takes to recover. To re-center myself, maybe in a matter of a few minutes rather than a few hours or days, like before where I would spin out. All right, so yeah, I'd like for us to do a couple different contemplative meditational practices as part of the workshop, if that's okay. Starting with just a simple mindfulness breathing meditation. So we'll do a mindfulness breathing meditation, and then we'll do a centering prayer. We'll do an Om, a Tibetan Om. All right, so, and this is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, the 3-minute breathing space, which it can be 3 minutes if you have 3 minutes, or 30 seconds during the day in stressful situations. All right, so sit comfortably, yet remain alert. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you. Then bring your awareness to your inner experience, asking, what is my experience right now? What thoughts are going through my mind? What feelings are here? Turn toward any sense of discomfort or unpleasant feelings, acknowledging them. What body sensations are here right now? Quickly scan the body to pick up any sensations of tightness, acknowledging those sensations. Now redirect your attention to focus on the physical sensation of the breath. Move in close to the sense of the breath in the abdomen, feeling the sensations of the abdomen wall, lungs, expanding as the breath comes in, holding the breath for a moment, and then falling back as the breath goes out. Follow the breath all the way in and all the way out, using the breath to anchor yourself in the present. And finally, expand the field of your awareness around the breathing so that it includes a sense of the body as a whole, including your posture, facial expression. And if you become aware of any sensations of discomfort, tension, or resistance, take your awareness there by breathing into them on the in-breath. Then breathe out from those sensations, softening and opening with the out-breath. And as best you can, bring this expanded awareness to the next few moments of your day and throughout the day. And as we come back together, it's important to keep in mind that for the brain to habituate to a new way of being, the practice must be done regularly enough for it to take hold. Daily, if possible. The brain is, after all, an adaptation machine, so that neurons that we're intentionally firing together in our spiritual practice will rewire together with greater strength. The power of neuroplasticity, that in our daily spiritual practice, we're activating specific groups of neurons that help keep us grounded, centered, while quieting other regions of the brain that keep us on edge. And this goes against the grain of a quick fix solution and the instant gratification of contemporary digital culture, like I talked about the other day, instant, quick fix, immediate. No, we're also biological beings. And we have to keep that in mind, that we're going against the grain of our neural predisposition. We have to be patient with the process. Can we be patient in a digital world? Like I hear sometimes from some of my students or clients, who come to me and say that my meditation practice is starting to take hold, right? It's starting to become a way of life throughout the day. Perfect. That's wonderful. Learning to calm the anxious mind and brain becomes a way of life after a while. Stuck in traffic? Oh, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. Late for an important meeting. Oh, I missed my train. Having a disagreement with a loved one or friend. Trying to pay the bills. There are many practices that enhance neuroplasticity. For example, exercise, cardio, walking, yoga, music. And as we're discussing today, contemplative prayer, mindfulness meditation, focusing on the rhythm of the breath, whatever has deep resonance for you. It varies from person to person. Having just been in Tibet recently, I got to experience firsthand the benefits of Om chanting. The Tibetan Om on a prayer rock along the way. And the monks do the Om chant. It goes on and on. Oh, it just keeps going as if into an infinity, eternity, right? Studies indicate that above and beyond the spiritual benefit of chanting Om, there's immediate effect on heart rate, stress reduction, and modulation of the activity in the regions of the brain associated with primal responses, fight, flight, freeze, in favor of a relaxation response. So let's do a second practice together. And, you know, these are suggestive. If it works for you, if it resonates for you, great. But just pick one, you know, pick something. Find a spiritual practice is the bottom line. Breathing in, I think you'll be able to hear this. On the gong, breathing in, holding for a minute, and then saying the Om together. And we can say it out loud together. All right? Again, sit comfortably, yet alert. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and we'll do a minute or two of Om chanting. Breathing in, holding. Om. Breathing in, holding. Om. 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 And I've seen studies as we come back together that indicate, and doing the M at the end has direct impact on the vagal nerve. Om. If you're interested in seeing more about that, I mean, you can just Google that. Studies on the ending, not oh, om, right? The direct impact on the vagal nerve. All right, so, and some of you, I assume, are also familiar with the Christian centering prayer, right? Contemplative meditation in a way, put forward by the late Father Thomas Keating, a Trappist monk. It's very simple, right? These are all very simple. Simple practices, but not easy. And why is that? They're not easy because it goes against the grain of our hardwiring. But, it's sit comfortably like we've been doing and choose a sacred word that has deep meaning or resonance for you, or a mantra that supports your intention to be in divine presence, in the presence of God, right? Could be love, compassion, peace, spirit. I mean, you could do Om if you wanted. And sometimes I'll do the Sermon on the Mount as like a mantra, in rhythm to the breath. Breathing in, do not. Breathing out, be anxious. Breathing in, do not. Hold. Breathing out, be anxious. And that could have resonance for you, or whatever has resonance, the deep meaning for you, right? That helps you recover, quote unquote, that helps you stay grounded and centered. Right, so, and we can do it at the start of the day. I mean, Father Keating says ideally do it for 15, 20 minutes. If you have 15, 20 minutes, or like I was talking about the other day, before we jump out of bed and get on the screen, right, let's just start the day gradually, right? Before picking up the phone and all these alerts and updates. And then, our nervous system is so triggered, resisting the temptation in a way, taking a sacred pause, to remember that each day is a gift, right? I am in this day. It is a miracle. Have you seen that researchers have quantified the odds of you being alive today, or you ever having been born? Have you seen that? Well, what do you think the odds are of you being born, alive in this day? Try 400 trillion to 1. It's been quantified. Other researchers say that's way too conservative. It's right, so that is a miracle, right? In the words of the psalmist, Hebrew scripture, today's the day the Lord has made. Right? And sometimes I take it for granted, like, oh, it's another day. It's another day. How did that happen? Every day, every breath, it's a miracle, right? Okay, so, we'll just do this for a minute or two. Sit comfortably, eyes closed, if that's good for you. And you choose a sacred word or mantra that you can repeat in rhythm to the breath. And when you become aware of contents of the mind, thoughts, feelings, you don't have to do anything. Just let them come, let them go. And use your word or mantra as your anchor. So as we come back together, if you're a typical human being like me, you'll have even now, you'll have more than a few thoughts and feelings going through your mind, and certainly in 15, 20 minutes. So you're learning to let the contents of the mind come and go, come and go as much as possible, and gently return to your anchor, right? Anchoring of your attention, of your awareness in the sacred word or the mantra. Because the contents of the mind are, after all, just fleeting physiology, right? Let it come, let it go, uh, without judging ourselves for, I'm not doing it right, I'm not good at this, I'm a failure. Over time, we're imprinting this as another predisposition in our hardwiring. It's like we always have the hard drive of primitive responses, but we can insert new software, right, into the computer. That's the good news. The brain is built for change. And giving our nervous system a chance to cool down becomes a way of life. Right, so, and again, I was doing in those few minutes, the do not be anxious. Sermon on the Mount is a mantra. Sometimes I'll do the Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, in rhythm to the breath, right? Or Taizé. I mean, if you're familiar with Taizé, those wonderful music. In the Lord, I'll be ever thankful. In the Lord, I'll be thankful. Particularly when I'm having those days when I'm not being very thankful or grateful, right? Okay, so in our remaining time together, I just want to talk about a little bit about third wave cognitive therapies, because they make use of what we've been doing this morning. They make meditational practice a core feature of the therapeutic work. ACT, for example, acceptance and commitment therapy, helps clients to tolerate or accept the moment-to-moment fluctuation of moods, thoughts, emotions, even if the client does not like what she's experiencing, right? Acceptance is not synonymous with liking. But I don't like this anxious feel. You don't have to like it, but that's what I'm feeling right now in this moment. That's acceptance. Clients learn that they don't have to immediately react to this thought or this feeling. Don't have to do anything. Don't have to do anything other than be mindful, mindfully aware and honest about what I'm experiencing in the moment. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy comes out of mindfulness-based stress reduction. Distinguishing between the busy doing mode of mind, right, and the more restful being mode of mind is a central focus of MBCT, and was originally put forward to treat the relapse and recurrence of depression. It's well known that with anxiety and depression, there can be considerable doing, right? Mental chatter, self-talk, trying to think our way out of feeling unhappy, and paradoxically keeping ourselves locked into the state from which we're trying to escape, right? In the context of MBCT, clients to learn to develop attentional stability by way of mindfulness meditation. And it's really important for lived experience in general and lived experience in a digital age. Really is. And over time, clients learn to step out of automatic pilot in order to nip in the bud the escalation of self-sustaining patterns of anxious and depressive thought. So if we put it spiritually, it offers the client a needed sacred pause from life on automatic pilot, from the accelerated doing mode that's fast becoming our normal baseline in a digital world. We do not, to repeat, have to do anything with a thought or feeling other than be mindful that it's now entered my awareness. So for third wave cognitive therapies, this represents a departure from the more familiar and traditional CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which does encourage clients to do something about their irrational thoughts in what's known as cognitive disputation, a classic CBT technique. Right, but cognitively disputing or arguing with ourselves will likely, according to this approach, fire up the stress region. It will keep the stress region of the brain activated, triggering the release of stress-provoking neurochemicals. In other words, doing in the form of cognitive disputation could be counterproductive if we're not careful. So within third wave cognitive therapies, ACT, MBCT, DBT, even IFS, it offers clients a needed sacred pause from life on automatic pilot. Because there's skepticism that the traditional standard of disputation and argumentation reduces the client's level of stress and anxiety in any lasting way. There's skepticism. ACT and MBCT are skeptical about any direct cognitive change strategies out of concern that they would lead to further elaboration of and entanglement with problematic cognitions, and are likely to fail, especially when the stakes are highest. All right, so the focus of third wave cognitive therapies is less on specific thoughts, cognitions, and their veracity, and more on how the client relates to the contents of the mind. And in many ways, it's learning to let it come, let them come, let them go. All right, in the context of MBCT, no attempt is made to evaluate the rationality of thoughts or to dispute or to change the content. For the mindful approach to thoughts and feelings simply encourages a direct observation and acceptance, doesn't mean liking, acceptance of what is in the present moment, which slows any reactivity, increasing time and ability to choose new responses. So not that we ever get entirely beyond the doing mode. That's how we're hardwired. Do. The amygdala, you got to do something, do something. The brain's an amazing adaptation machine, anticipation machine, right? Which is why you and I and all other human beings are alive and here today. So even in the context of our meditational practice, we must be careful that our meditation is more in the form of being than doing. Really important. Not driven by, I have a goal to be more relaxed. I'm going to be more relaxed, right? I'm going to be a more spiritual person. It's possible for one to try to meditate with so much focus and force on being relaxed. That if anything interrupts it, I need to relax, I need to relax, then I get angry and frustrated, right? So a few closing thoughts. In my view, there's a natural synergy between third wave cognitive approaches and positive psychology. Both are non-judgmental, non-pathologizing, thank goodness, right? As opposed to a lot of psychotherapy in the West. Going beyond the disease model of mental health care. Psychological disorders are reframed as part of normal human development, right? Anxiety is part of being human. Therapeutic techniques of self-care, relaxation, stress reduction help the client to reset their happiness baseline, to shorten their recovery time when they're triggered by an anxious thought or feeling. So MBCT, ACT, others, DBT, are therefore, I would argue, compatible with positive psychology in terms of helping the client develop psychological and spiritual flexibility in order to create a more meaningful and, if we put it biblically, abundant life. So one last thing. Tyler mentioned Jill Bolte Taylor, her book, My Stroke of Insight, a neuroscientist who had, and she details this in her book, a major stroke, brain hemorrhaging. Took her like 8 years to recover from it. But she has found from her research and her lived experience that within 90 seconds, approximately, give or take, from the initial trigger of an anxious thought or feeling, the chemical component dissipates and the automatic response is over. Just reflect on that for a moment, because I share that with clients sometimes and they're incredulous. No way. Sometimes I'm anxious for hours, days, weeks. Well, Taylor says if I remain anxious after the 90 seconds have passed, for hours, even days, then it's because I've chosen to let the circuit continue to run. I make the choice to either stay hooked into my anxious neurocircuitry, or step away from it. Back into the present moment, allowing the reaction to fade away as fleeting physiology. And metaphorically, we can put it like this. So this is useful in my own spiritual practice, like clouds in the sky, right? If we look at the sky, it's changing all the time. The clouds come and go. Same thing, 90 seconds. Thoughts, feelings come and go if we can stay out of the way, right? In the sense of Father Keating, who would say, resist no thought, retain no thought, react to no thought, and simply return to your anchor, the word, the mantra, the breath, anytime during the day. And he emphasizes that when I say return to your anchor, I mean ever so gently, right? Not giving yourself a pep talk. Come on. Nah, just ever so gently return to the word, the mantra, the breath. Ever so gently and compassionately. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for Professor Bingaman's insightful sharing that life experience can have positive change on our brain. And I think we all benefit. Now we are coming to the Q&A session. Does anyone have any question for Professor Bingaman?
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Rustono Marta. I came from Indonesia, from Atmajaya Catholic University of Indonesia. It's really wonderful that I can meet directly with you, Prof. Kirk BINGAMAN. Sometimes I just curious about your about the meditation that we practicing before. If we have facing about our problems or traumatic will become in the middle of our meditation, how we can overcome that one. Just a little tips maybe from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So if a traumatic thought, you mean, or memory? Yeah. Well, as much as possible, if you're able, learning to let it come and go. And if you're not able, then that becomes part of the therapy work, the counseling work, and even understanding that at times, clients may need to just step out of the meditation. You know what I mean? If it's feeling overwhelming. And there's research from a colleague in the US. Her name is Willoughby Britton. I think she's a Brown or Dartmouth college. But she has, I mean, if Willoughby Britton, it's an article on her in the Atlantic magazine, where she says sometimes if clients in their meditational practice, their contemplative practice, get in a very dark space, time out. Just that there's no need, well, you have to keep going for 20 minutes, right? It might be an act of therapeutic care, of self-care, to just, that's enough for now, right? And then if the traumatic memory persists, then I certainly want to address that with my therapist, my counselor.
Any more questions?
Hi, I'm Ivy, a psychology student. I also do mindfulness practice daily, so I can resonate with you. My question is, would you consider mindfulness meditation as a transdiagnostic intervention to other health issues like tumor or bruxism, etc.? Because it may generally help you to increase your openness and also your sense of calmness.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, is that part of your research right now? Oh, because I thought you might have some ideas about that. Yeah, I think there are, I mean, there's certainly spiritual benefit, but there, like the science is indicating, that there's psychophysiological benefit, right? And if we connect this with my talk on Wednesday, in terms of maintaining attentional control, I think it's so important, because there are some studies indicating the human attentional capacity is beginning to shrink. And what are the implications for human lived experience, for human spirituality, right? So I think along with spiritual benefits, that's, to me, it's added benefit. So some of these other things that may not be our main purpose initially, but they're still a benefit, and particularly psychophysiologically.
Any more questions? So there is a question online. Would Professor please share more experience about the tone of sound for affecting our mind in crime? That means, are there any similar sound tones for the mindfulness?
Chanting is quite related to, yeah. I'm reading the rest of it. Maybe some of different religions, but
Will
yeah.
not accept.
Well, yeah. So, just, tailor it in a way that works for you and those in your care, right? Because part of the question is, mindfulness meditation has, like a Buddhist orientation. True enough. So, if that's problematic, then say contemplative prayer, right? Just reframe it as contemplative prayer, centering prayer, Christian meditation, right? But sound tones, right? You can say the Om, and there are some studies on Taizé. You know Taizé? Christian community in France. Brother Roger, God rest his soul. But yeah, I'd like to go there sometime. But just these simple songs. In the Lord, I'll be ever thankful. Jesus, remember me. And then that's the extent of it. And it becomes like a soundful mantra, right? So there really is neuroplastic power, that comes with sound, that comes with music. Yeah.
So if no more question, then thanks for your participation and thanks again for Professor Bingaman's insightful sharing.